Hello, my friends. Welcome back. Come in, settle down. I have a story to tell you today. It's a story that's been sitting with me, weighing on my heart, because it's about the lines we draw between faith and skepticism, between art and blasphemy, and about the moments when those lines are miraculously blurred. It's about a young woman, an old painting, and an event that left everyone who witnessed it speechless, questioning everything they thought they knew. It's a story for anyone who has ever doubted, who has ever felt a flicker of hope, or who has ever wondered if the divine still speaks in our modern noisy world. But before we begin this journey together, I need you to do something for me. Pause right now. Take a breath. And in the comments below, I want you to simply type the word hope. Then tell me what city you're watching from. Let's create a living, breathing chain of faith across the globe. Let's see a wave of hope, from Manila to Mexico City, from Lagos to London. It's a simple act, but sometimes, faith starts with a single word. Go ahead, I'll wait. Welcome back. Now let me introduce you to our central figure. Her name is Chloe, 20 years old, an art student at a prestigious and famously secular university in a bustling European city I won't name. Think of the most vibrant, cynical, avant-garde art scene you can imagine. That was her world. Chloe was brilliant, sharp-tongued, and armed with a postmodernist perspective that viewed all sacred symbols as mere social constructs, tools of power to be deconstructed. Her faith. It was in the audacity of the artist, in the shock of the new. She wore her disbelief not with quiet respect, but with a performative, almost aggressive flair. Her hair was often a different color each week, her clothes a statement, her art provocative. Her project for her final year thesis was titled Deconstructing the Divine, a reappropriation of sacred iconography. In simpler terms, she planned to take classic religious paintings and, using mixed media and digital manipulation, reframe them through a lens of modern critique. Feminist, political, sociological. The centerpiece of her exhibition was to be a reworking of one of the most beloved, most replicated images in the Christian world. A specific, serene 17th-century portrait of the Virgin Mary, known as Our Lady of the Silent Tears. The original is stunningly beautiful. Mary is depicted with a gaze that is both mournful and deeply compassionate, a single crystal-like tear poised on her cheek. Her hands folded in prayer, a soft blue mantle enveloping her. It's an image that has, for centuries, been a source of immense comfort to the faithful. Copies hang in countless homes, hospitals, and churches. For Chloe, it was the perfect target. Sentimentality masking patriarchal submission, she called it in one of her project proposals. She downloaded a high-resolution copy of the painting and set to work on her digital tablet. What she created was jarring. She fragmented the serene face, pixelating parts of it. She replaced the gentle blue mantle with harsh, graphic patterns resembling corporate logos and barbed wire. The single tear was multiplied into a torrent of stylized drops that looked more like acid rain. The prayerful hands were overlaid with images of modern-day protest signs and financial charts. She titled her piece Mother of the Marketplace. It was clever in a cold academic way. It was designed to critique the commercialization of faith, the oppression of feminine ideals. But to anyone with a love for the original, it felt like a violation. Mockery. Her peers in the art program lauded it. Brave, necessary, groundbreaking, they said. Her professors nodded thoughtfully, praising her critical engagement. Chloe fed on this approval. She'd post progress shots on her social media with captions dripping with irony, giving the Blessed Virgin a much-needed makeover for the 21st century. One read. The comments from her circle were filled with fire emojis and applause. But then other comments began to seep in. From strangers. From believers. This breaks my heart. Have you no reverence? Please stop this. One older woman, who identified herself as a lifelong devotee of Our Lady of the Silent Tears, wrote a long, pleading comment. Young lady, that image has carried millions through their darkest hours. It is not a symbol of oppression, but a beacon of love. I will pray for you. Chloe screenshotted that comment and posted it on her story. She added her own text. And I will create for you. Your prayers are your medium. My critique is mine. The division was stark, and Chloe stood proudly on her side of the line. The night before the big university exhibition opening, everything was set. Mother of the Marketplace was printed on a large, high-gloss canvas, mounted on a central wall in the white, sterile gallery space. It was the show's centerpiece. Chloe, dressed in all black, held a final walkthrough with her closest friends, including her supportive but sometimes worried roommate, Sophia. Sophia, who came from a culturally Catholic family, had expressed gentle reservations, but Chloe dismissed them. It's just a painting, Soph. Well, a print of a painting of a fictional character from a mythological story. Lighten up. Tomorrow the art world takes notice. They left the gallery around midnight. The security system was armed, the lights dimmed to a low glow. The gallery was silent, save for the hum of the climate control system. Mother of the Marketplace dominated the space, its harsh colors and fragmented forms a stark contrast to the peace of the night outside. At 3:17 a.m., the security guard on duty, a man named Leo, a retired police officer with no particular interest in art but a deep fondness for routine, was making his rounds. He walked past Chloe's piece as he had done hourly. He paused. Something felt off. The air in front of the painting seemed to shimmer, like heat rising off asphalt. He rubbed his eyes, blaming his tiredness. But then he looked at the painting itself. The pixels, the graphic overlays, the harsh lines. They were moving. Not like a screen, but as if they were dissolving, receding, fading into the background. From beneath Chloe's modern alterations, the original image of Our Lady of the Silent Tears was beginning to emerge. Not as a perfect restoration, but as if her alterations were a veil being gently, irrevocably drawn back. The corporate logos softened, bled away into the deep, serene blue of the Virgin's mantle. The acid rain tears evaporated, leaving only that one, singular, crystal tear on the cheek. The fragmented face smoothed into the whole, mournful, compassionate visage of the original Mary. Leo stood frozen, his heart hammering against his ribs. He fumbled for his radio, his hands shaking. He called for his supervisor, his voice a hoarse whisper. You need to come to the main gallery. Something's happening with the new piece. The blasphemous one. By the time the supervisor arrived, the transformation was complete. Hanging on the wall was no longer Mother of the Marketplace. It was, unmistakably, the pristine, beautiful image of Our Lady of the Silent Tears. But there was one difference. One profound, breathtaking difference from the original 17th century painting. The Virgin's gaze, in this version, was no longer looking slightly off to the side. Her eyes were looking directly out of the canvas. And they were filled with an expression of such profound, all-knowing and unconditional love, not of judgment, but of infinite sorrow and infinite mercy, that both men, hardened as they were, felt their knees go weak. A scent, faint and impossible, permeated the air around the painting, a mixture of roses and old parchment, of candle wax and spring rain. They called the university heads. They called the art department chair. They called Chloe. I want to pause here. Isn't it amazing how the divine often chooses the most unexpected moments, the most unlikely people to deliver a message? A message not of doom but of hope. If this story is already touching your heart, if it's renewing a sense of wonder in you, then do us a huge favor. Hit that like button below. It tells the YouTube algorithm that this is meaningful content, and it helps us share these stories of hope with more people. Every like is a little beacon saying, "More of this, please." Now let's get back to Chloe's story. Chloe arrived at the gallery just after dawn, annoyed and bleary-eyed. She was met by a small crowd of stunned faculty, security, and a few early-arriving custodial staff. They parted for her wordlessly. And then she saw it. Her face, so often a mask of cynical confidence, went completely blank. All color drained from her cheeks. She took a step forward, then another, as if pulled by an invisible string. She stopped a few feet from the painting. Her mother of the marketplace was gone. In its place was this vision. The original painting, but not. Those eyes. Those eyes looked right at her. Through her. This is a prank, she stammered, her voice small. A projection. Someone hacked the print file. This is digital. The head of the art department, a woman who had championed Chloe's work, shook her head slowly. We've checked, Chloe. The print file on the server is unchanged. Still your version. This, she gestured to the canvas, is what is physically on the wall. The security footage shows a gradual change, a transformation. Chloe's friend Sophia arrived then, gasping as she saw the painting. She didn't see a critique or a concept. She saw the Virgin Mary, looking at her friend with heartbreaking love. Instinctively, Sophia made the sign of the cross and began to cry silent tears of her own. The news, of course, couldn't be contained. It spread from the university to local news, then to international media. "Miracle in the gallery," the headlines screamed. "Art students' mockery undone by divine intervention." The gallery was inundated. Believers flocked to see it, kneeling in prayer before the image. Scientists and skeptics came with spectrometers and cameras, trying to find a rational explanation. A chemical reaction in the ink, a sophisticated hoax. They found nothing. The canvas, the inks were ordinary. The transformation was, by all measurable standards, impossible. And the scent of roses persisted in a gentle halo around the piece, strongest when people prayed before it. Chloe became a ghost in her own life. She stopped attending classes. She sat in her apartment, staring at the wall. The image of those eyes burned into her mind. The online praise had turned into a global firestorm. She was vilified by millions. She was also, strangely, prayed for by millions. That comment from the old woman echoed in her soul. "I will pray for you." Now the world was. Weeks passed. The painting, now dubbed the reclaimed icon, was moved to a nearby cathedral for safekeeping, as the gallery could no longer handle the crowds. Chloe watched the news coverage from her couch. She saw a war veteran weeping before the painting, saying his PTSD-induced nightmares had stopped. She saw a mother who had lost a child, speaking of finding a moment of peace she thought was forever lost. She saw the simple, awestruck faces of thousands. The intellectual fortress she had built around herself was crumbling brick by brick. Her deconstruction had been deconstructed. Her critique had been met not with argument, but with a silent, loving, undeniable presence. One afternoon, Sophia found her sitting on the floor, clutching a pillow. "What's happening to me, Soph?" Chloe whispered. "I feel like I'm breaking. I thought it was all a story. A beautiful, useful story, but a story. But those eyes, they know me. They knew the hate in my heart, the pride. And they looked at me with that. How is that possible?" Sophia simply sat beside her and held her. "Maybe," she said softly, "love is the only thing that's ever really possible." The climax came on a rainy Thursday. Chloe, driven by a compulsion she could not name, put on a hoodie and slipped into the back of the cathedral where the painting now resided. It was late, just before closing. The crowds had thinned to a few scattered souls in the pews. The painting was placed in a side chapel, bathed in the soft glow of countless votive candles. Chloe stood at the back, hidden in shadow. She watched an elderly man hobble up, touch the glass protecting the canvas, and rest his forehead against it, his shoulders shaking. She watched a young couple light a candle, holding each other tightly. The scent of roses was faint but distinct, mixing with the beeswax of the candles. Her heart felt like it was being squeezed in a vice. All her theories, her arrogance, her desire to shock and dismantle. It felt so small, so achingly empty, in the face of this silent, radiating what? Love, grace, truth. A word she hadn't used sincerely since childhood floated up. Mercy. She found herself walking forward, step by slow step, until she was standing directly before the image. She looked up into the eyes that had haunted her. The eyes that were, in this moment, waiting for her. And she broke. Tears she didn't know she had started to flow, not the stylized acid drops of her art, but hot, messy human tears of shame, of confusion, of a longing so deep it had been buried under layers of intellect and posturing. She didn't say a prayer, she didn't know how. Instead, the words that tumbled out were raw and real. I'm sorry. I didn't know. I didn't understand. I was so wrong. She sank to her knees on the cold stone floor, burying her face in her hands, weeping openly. The other visitors respectfully looked away, giving her this intimate moment. She cried until she was spent. When she finally looked up again, wiping her eyes, she gasped. The painting was unchanged. The Virgin still gazed out with that profound love. But for Chloe, in that moment, the single tear on the Virgin's cheek seemed to glint with a living light, as if in answer to her own. A profound warmth, a peace that truly passed all understanding, settled over her. It wasn't an answer to all her questions. It was a comfort that made the questions momentarily irrelevant. She felt, for the first time in her adult life, seen. Not as an artist, a critic, a provocateur, but as a soul. And she was loved. Chloe's life didn't become a fairy tale overnight. The controversy didn't vanish. She had to face the university, the media, her own past work. But she was fundamentally changed. She withdrew her thesis project. In a press conference, she didn't offer a new intellectual framework. She simply said, with a new and quiet humility, I witnessed something I cannot explain with the tools I was given. I misinterpreted a symbol of infinite love as a symbol of control. I apologized to those I hurt. My art will now be a search for that love, in whatever form it takes. She left the secular art world. I've heard she now works with a community of iconographers, learning the ancient, prayerful discipline of writing icons. She is learning that true sacred art isn't about deconstruction, but about revelation, making a window, not a mirror. And the painting, the reclaimed icon, remains in that cathedral, has been examined by dozens of experts. It is physically the same canvas she printed on. The digital layers she added are gone, as if they were never there, with no physical or chemical process to account for it. It is a perpetual miracle, a mystery. The scent of roses comes and goes. And countless testimonies of healings, both physical and spiritual, have been attributed to prayers before this image that was born not from a holy brush, but from a heart turned back to love. So what is the lesson here, my friends? Is it that God strikes down the mockers? Well, look at the story again. Look at the outcome. Chloe wasn't struck down. She was reclaimed, just like the painting. The message wasn't one of wrath, but of relentless, patient, breathtaking mercy. It was a sign that our modern age of skepticism is not beyond the reach of grace. That even our most arrogant rejections can be met with an offer of love so powerful it can literally rewrite reality. It's a reminder that the Virgin Mary, our mother, is just that, a mother. A mother sees her child lashing out, misunderstanding, hurting themselves and others. Does a true mother destroy the child? Well, wait. She loves. And when the child finally turns around, exhausted from the fight, she is right there, with a gaze that holds all the sorrow of the distance and all the joy of the return. Her silence is not absence. It is the deep, patient space where conversion happens. If this story touched your heart, if it reminded you that no one is beyond the reach of hope, then I have a few simple requests. First, subscribe to this channel and ring that notification bell. By subscribing, you're joining a community of seekers, of believers and wanderers, and you won't miss our next exploration of life's deepest mysteries. We are a lighthouse for stories of faith in a sometimes dark world. Second, share this video. Share it with someone who is struggling with doubt. Share it with someone who needs a reminder of mercy. Share it with someone who thinks faith is irrelevant. This story is a bridge. And finally, let's build that community stronger. Handshake, join our WhatsApp channel. The link is in the description below. It's a place for daily prayers, uplifting messages, and a true connection with others on this journey. Let's build a strong community under the mantle of Our Lady's blessing. Now, I'd love to hear from you. The story of Chloe is extraordinary, but miracles are happening every day in quiet ways. In the comments, I invite you to write about a miracle you have witnessed or experienced. It could be a physical healing, an answered prayer, a moment of inexplicable peace, or a sudden change of heart just like Chloe's. Let's fill this space with testimonies of hope. Let's encourage one another. And remember the word we typed at the beginning. Oh, hold on to it. Wherever you are, whatever you're going through, the story of the reclaimed painting and the reclaimed artist tells us one thing for certain. It is never ever too late for a new beginning. Love is watching. Love is waiting. Love can change the very canvas of our lives. Go in peace, my friends. And may the God of all hope be with you until we meet again in the next video.